To best prepare yourself for what comes next, we encourage you to, for a time, suspend your belief and disbelief regarding what you know or think you know about the universe, Earth history, God, the gods, creation, creator, or that which may be termed source. Get ready for one wild, mind-expanding experience as we continue with part 2 of our interview with George Kavassilas.
Before we began, you told me about a diplomatic correspondence letter that you got from the Dracos. So now would be a good time for you to just kind of like read that out, and we can discuss that letter and its significance. So why don't you begin with, when did you get this letter, or how did you come about getting this letter?
Yeah, this is this is really important, what I'm about to share with you folks, because this is the crypto terrestrials reaching out to us. And I had a meeting, or several meetings, with this a particular Draco about 20 years ago. His name's Draco Zon. And he asked me to write this down as a communication to our human race from the crypto terrestrial interdimensional as well, crypto terrestrial interdimensional species. The energy of it, as you would expect, is pretty heavy. It's from a Draco. It's very blunt, very matter of fact. And I just ask everybody to take that into consideration as you're listening. Okay, here goes. A message of life from the perspective of a interdimensional reptilian friend. Okay, and this is where we must not be racist. Seriously, just realize you're dealing with a different culture. You may wish to consider the fact that we have inhabited and somewhat dominated this planet for hundreds of millions of years before your species even arrived here. And to put things into larger perspective, the insectoids preceded us, and the microorganisms and bacteria, etc., preceded our insectoid friends, and so on it goes. We have learnt to live in what we consider harmony with our friends in other realms. The reptilian-human relationship is different. The reptilian-human relationship, particularly the Earth-human relationship, is different. Distinctively different to any other species within the known universe. No other two species are having a relationship in which the outcome of the relationship impacts on life so greatly in the known universe. The energy vibration which is created as a result of our interactions has been magnified by the Creator, that means the universal creator intelligence, and reverberates throughout the known universe. In fact, it interferes with the morphogenetic fields of all other races. Interesting. The importance of the relationship between our species cannot be underestimated. We, the reptilians, and you, the Earth humans, are key players in the Creator's plan for all life in the known universe. We are all, underline all, going through changes. We have evolved greatly in the past 800 million years. If you look at our form when we dominated the Earth physically, as you have discovered through our bones, and it's kind of like a shortcut for the mind, we had adopted incredibly well to a sometimes harsh environment. Some of us decided to remain in physical form and limited awareness, but some of us decided to evolve, and wow, what a journey it has been. Currently, we have different levels of evolution within our species, just like you have within yours. Therefore, not all of our kind are in physical form. I, Draco Zon, am in what you would term non-physical form. I reside in a realm that you humans know as the fourth density, the high end, to be more specific. Our reality, to put it simply, is of a non-molecular structure in relation to yours. The life force energy, or in its true form, light frequency, or the unconditional love of the Creator, as you humans have called it, vibrates at different levels, at a different level to yours. So as the atoms vibrate to the life force frequency of your density, They then attract each other in a way that they create form which is different to yours. Our atoms don't create molecules. Very interesting. Because we know that the vibrational rate of a molecule determines the density of matter.
Right, but is he saying our atoms don't create molecules? I mean, I don't understand what he means by that.
In his world, in his reality, the high-end fourth density that they live and operate in, that reside in, they don't have molecules in that realm.
If you can't,
their atoms do not create molecules.
Okay, so how can you have organic beings or life then if you can't have molecules? Are we talking about light beings made out of light as opposed to atoms and molecules?
When you're in these realms that are structured differently, we have that density. They call it density here. Like, it's very dense. It's that dense. Third dimension is very dense. You know, all that type of talk. And it's because of the vibration, the rate of vibration of the molecules. It's the way the planet has set it up, the planetary intelligence. Okay. Now, when you go into another dimension, another frequency, you could look at a reality. There might be a table there. There might be a plant or something, but the structure of it, it's totally different. It's not as thick and it's not as dense, but they're still there. It's a different state of being in another dimensional realm. Every time I go into another dimension, it's vastly different. And then you come back into this one, it's like, oh, sludging through mud, just trying to lift your arm, just trying to move through the realm. You know, it's very, very different to other dimensions. So anyway, I'll does that help at all?
Okay. Well, yeah, just to, so when you go into the fourth and fifth dimension and you see forms or life forms or structures, we are talking about life forms or structures that are formed not out of molecules, but out of something else, like photons.
Yeah. And it's just structuring reality different. It's like, trying to look for an analogy.
Like a hologram. Like a hologram here is ethereal. You can put your hand through it, but in the fourth density, that hologram would be like a solid.
True. Yeah. Because of the photon particles, the way they vibrate. You know, it's the rate of the vibration. I mean, the rate of the spin of our atoms determines the vibration of the molecule, which then determines the density of matter. If you want to levitate or walk through a wall, just change the rate of the spin of your atoms with your intention. Walk through a wall. That's what I did. I can't do it here now, but that's what when I got taken to the moon, that's what I did. You know, it's how you walk through a wall. It's how a yogi levitates, you know. It's that altering your spin of the atoms. The power's in the spin, right? It's all over your shirt. The power's in the spin. And it's all about that being able to adjust the rate of the spin, and it's the flavor of the spin. It's not just a numbered frequency. This is the problem with numbers and geometry. The spin has to have a flavor and intention behind it. You know what I mean? And it has to be included in the co-creative process of the realm and the reality. So once we start getting into these things about creation and structure and how we go about doing things, very different to the way we've been trained throughout our lives. If you want to operate with love, honor, and respect to creation, then basically everything we're doing in our societal infrastructure is totally the opposite to what needs to be done, basically. All right. Okay to keep going with the...
Yes, please.
Okay. So as that, where is it? Our reality, to put it simply, is of a non-molecular structure in relation to yours. The life force energy, or in its true form, light frequency, or creator, as you humans have called it, unconditional love, vibrates at a different level to yours. So they have their own expression of unconditional love, but the flavor of it's different and the structure of it's different. Because it's for their vibration, their realm. It's like you can't take a human body and plonk it on another planet and think it's going to live a good, fruitful, long life. No, the vibration of that realm is going to kill your body. all your organs will start to break down because your atoms are spinning at a different rate. And these bodies are made for this planet, right? For this realm. You take, God, when I went to Mars or I went to the moon and came back, oof, and even just going into a craft of other beings, especially the Draco Greys. Oh, they're the worst. Oh, what a disgusting environment they live in. Really ugly, really cold, full of fear. It is awful, you know, and that is their ecosystem. That is their environment. That is their reality. And so their reality vibrates different to ours, even though there's aspects of ours in theirs. Right. Very complicated once you're getting into the structure of creation, different dimensions and realms and realities. Gets big. So as the atoms vibrate to the life force frequency of our density, they then attract each other in a way that they create form, which is very different to yours. Our atoms don't create molecules. They create what we call pneumia. It's got a very Greek feel to it, the reptilian language. We call pneumia or pneumon. Depending on what teachings you have. It is the molecules in your reality or density and pneumia in ours, which then vibrates according to the intent behind the life force. And it is this vibration that emits visible light. So then the grand illusion of your reality is, you ready for this? This is a message to all of you. That which you see is that which you touch, is that which you feel, is that which you choose to understand. You can choose other things to understand, but you're only choosing that which you see, touch, and feel. That's the problem. May I add, from a reptilian perspective and a good jest, and in good jest, we find your limited perceptions and perspectives of reality extremely amusing and entertaining. This little message is for those of you on a level of awareness who know where I'm coming from. Try and think of it as similar emotions to when two friends ridicule each other about a football team that they follow. So they're just trying to have banter, basically. And then I interjected here and I said, wow, this is a big personal interjection. And I understand why. Huge message for the human race to give us an insight and to help us understand the unseen relationship that we have with these peoples. Okay? The unseen relationship that promotes fear in us and satisfies the needs in them. Just like you view the sheep and cattle in their extremely limited perspective of reality and fenced in as they are, is exactly how we view you earth humans whose consciousness awareness has been literally fenced in. Yes, many of my kind are responsible, but so are you by allowing them to do so and by giving your power away. Before you go judging us reptiles, take a look at just how to treat your own kind, your own environment, and the species of others around you. And see, that's a valid point. That's the problem here. They're right when they say this. Yeah?
Are kind of like a mirror for how we treat other species and the environment around us, that the reptilians are like a mirror. They hold that up and they say, well, you know, you complain about how we treat you. Well, you know, this is how you treat others around you and your own,
correct,
your own kind.
Have a look in the mirror is what they're saying. Mm-hmm. You're judging us, but you're no better than us. In fact, you're worse. Is what they're saying. Really, like this is a really big eye opener, and I really just hope people are going to genuinely, leave the prejudice behind, because there's so much racism towards the reptilians because of the narratives that have been bouncing around our cultural society. And for some, it's justified. It's like there's unsavory cousins, like he says, that are really awful beings, just like we have. Look at the evil that humans are perpetuating in the world right now. It's ridiculous. Okay, so before you go judging us, we lived in harmony with this beloved planet for hundreds of millions of years, and all you seem to want to do is to destroy her for the sake of material convenience. Without generalizing too much, there is a nasty group of humans being led by a nasty group of reptilians, being led by a nasty group of low-end Dracos, creating a lot of disharmony in this area of the galaxy and other realities. I am what is known as a high-end Draco. I and my peers whom have granted me understanding on their behalf send our love and grant you wisdom in our interactions, for to have peace on earth. To be heading towards unconditional love, we must learn to love all life in all forms, on all levels, every level, unconditionally, without exception.
This Draco Zon sounds like he's a very much a wise, ensouled being that understands what's going on, that understands, and he's kind of, basically telling us what the truth is, so that, and he's not, not giving us a pass to say, oh, well, Dracos, reptilians treat us badly. It's just like you are responsible because of how you interact with your environment for how these other beings treat you. But I just wanted to kind of like raise a point and ask about these other Dracos, the ones that are doing all the nasty things that Draco Zon mentioned. Are some of these Dracos doing these nasty things, especially the Imperial ones, are they clones that have been inhabited by an AI intelligence to do all these kind of psychopathic things that they do? I mean, this is something that I heard from another contactee, Mac, who lives in Melbourne, Australia, and he recalled a past life where he said he just kind of said that he was a Draco and he was kind of like soulless and he was eating a lot of humans, and in the process he then developed a soul, and then the other Dracos noticed that, and they kind of like removed the soul from him and killed him, and he went through the incarnation process. So is there this kind of division between ensouled Dracos like Zon, who do achieve a high level of consciousness, spirituality, and understanding that can be genuine allies to humanity, and he's an inner Earth reptilian, so that would be logical, as opposed to these off-world Dracos that may be cloned beings that are inhabited by this kind of AI consciousness.
Exactly. Yes to that. And we're looking at Draco Zon. What he shared with me is he's an ancient warrior. And, he's gone through that process of being the outer warrior where any monkey can beat on a monkey. That's a no-brainer, literally. And then you've got the transition, that evolution into the inner warrior, into the wise warrior, and into the peaceful warrior. And this is the evolutionary path this being has undertaken. He's now a leader of their people. He lives beneath us. These are what you term crypto-terrestrials. For me, I call them the subterranean peoples, and they are hidden. So crypto in Greek means hidden. So yes, they are crypto-terrestrials. I've been to the meeting. I got taken there by the Ant King not long ago, and I sat at a meeting with these beings. Another person I know who lives in Hawaii was also involved in the very next day, a shoot-off meeting from the meeting I was involved in underneath the White House, and she was taken there to that meeting. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes, that there's meetings, deliberations, and really, I'll just, the last statement on this page, right? So after that final, I'm going to read the paragraph out again because it leads into this really, really important statement. So I'm what is known as a high-end Draco. I and my peers whom have granted me understanding on their behalf send our love and grant you wisdom in our interactions, for to have peace on earth. To be heading towards unconditional love, we must learn to love all life in all forms, on every level, unconditionally, without exception. If you want peace on earth, you must make peace with the dragon. That is their statement. To understand the essence of this planet, the Lady Gaia personality of this planet, that's blue dragon energy. That's cosmic blue dragon energy that has helped manifest this physical world. That's why they lived here for hundreds of millions of years before we got here. We need to understand the structure of creation. Once we remember the structure of creation, we will no longer be subjected to imperial narratives. It's all over. It's game over. All right. I continue. You should not forget whose home this was first, and you need to treat us with more respect than you currently do. And I totally agree with that. George understands that we have manipulated him for our benefit and our agendas. And that was way back when they were 20 years ago when they were giving me a really hard time. And I could have edited that out, but I want that in there because everyone on this planet, and I mean every single person on this planet, is under mind control. There's not a single human being walking this planet that is not under the influence of the entire collective consciousness field of the human species. And that collective field is what they have been massaging. So everybody's conscious awareness is under duress, under mind control, okay? It's not just me. And sure, there's individual circumstances that take place. And people, and I put that out because people love to pin that on me to say you're under mind control from reptilians or Dracos or something. That's their go-to statement rather than looking in the mirror and facing what they need to look inside of themselves. Because people will say anything to avoid looking in the mirror. They will. George understands that we have manipulated him for our benefit and our agendas, but also understands that we are what we are doing unto the human race, as the human race is doing unto others. In George's case, he knows we are treating humans as best we know how in this point of time. The way we think and the way we feel as a species towards you humans is extremely complicated and interwoven with a long history of differences and conflicts over millennia, which is also interwoven as part of the plan of creation. Now, don't forget, everybody, right? Right at the core of your brain, the big part of your brain is a reptilian brain. You don't understand the structure, your own structure. This is what I keep telling people. You don't know what you are. You don't know where you are. You don't know who you are, and you don't know why you are. And these are what we need. This is what we need to come back to. If we're going to get through all of this craziness and madness in our evolution, this is what we need to get back to. Creation. Okay. The love that we feel is different to yours. It's of a different frequency for obvious reasons. In the third density, our molecular structure is different. So therefore, the vibration is different. So, well, they don't have molecules. I think that's what he meant by that. The closest experience that you as a human could get to feeling our love is to tune into the white light of the New Age movement on your planet. Okay, so that's the closest frequency, the New Age white love light energy, right? That light, the Luciferian light, the light of knowledge, gets close. The Kundalini is our energy signature. Yeah.
Because that's going to trip a lot of people up right there. You talk about the white light and the Luciferian energies. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, that's going to trip a lot of people up and say, hey, is this Draco Zon a kind of Luciferian? I mean, what's going on here?
Well, there's three lights he's speaking of. He's speaking about that light, meaning the New Age light. Then he's referring to the Luciferian light. And then he's referring to the light of knowledge. Okay? So it's because you and everyone on this planet doesn't know what Lucifer is. The original intention. Lucifer is a feminine being. Lucifer is Venus, which is also the Amber Lady in the Sirius star system. Okay, so what I'm sharing with you is the truth. What the people have been brainwashed by is imperial narrative. So your whole idea of what Lucifer is completely inverted.
Okay, well, I have to ask this because I know a lot of people are going to say this. Is the kind of Luciferian light you're referring to in that connection to Venus in any way associated with Satan and Satanism?
No. No, it actually exposes. It's the opposite. It's the antithesis to Satanism. Because the Amber Lady is the third star in the Sirius system. It's part of the divine feminine principle. And Venus, she came into our solar system incarnated as Venus to support Sophia, right? The blue lady, her sister. And then we got the moon, which was the white lady. And the moon came from the Pleiades. And now we're seeing the distortion in the feminine being played out through the moon, which is the ice queen, right? It's like to understand the structure of creation. That's what I keep telling people. If you want to get to what's real, you got to get to creation. Then you bypass any middleman, any middle woman, any gods, anything. It's just direct from source. Bang. That's it. No middle anything. All right. And I know it's very controversial because we've all been mind controlled. We've been brainwashed into these religious beliefs, which are false narratives. So the Kundalini is our energy signature, which I kept saying for 20 years now. I've been talking about this stuff about Kundalini. Humans are being coerced into Kundalini because it gives you a powerful rush that creates want, which creates will, which opens you up for a frequency match with a reptilian entity. The entity is then able to influence thought patterns, feelings, and desires. These low-end fourth density Dracos and reptilians use you as food. Some low-end third density Dracos and reptilians use you as food too. The third density beings require third density substances from the human body, and I've experienced that in abductions myself, horrendous as it was. Yeah. As fourth density beings require energy, which comes from the emotions, and I bared witness to this in an abduction, but specifically energy signatures of certain glandular secretions. So when they were taking out the secretions out of my body, I was witnessing physical beings eating my substances, my glandular secretions, and then I bared witness to all these interdimensional beings swooping down and feeding off the energy emanating from my glandular secretions, which they removed from my body. So this is, again, first-hand direct experience, right? Live to tell the tale. These low-end fourth density Dracos and reptilians, yeah, I went through that. Sorry. When it comes to emotions, specifically energy signatures of certain glandular secretions. While the low-end Dracos of the third are removing fluids, etc., from the body, the human body, during a so-called abduction experience, which we like to view as milking the cows. Yeah, no different, really, in a way. The fourth low-end Dracos are then feeding off the fear in the human, and specifically the morphogenetic energy of the secretions. The low-end Dracos are no worse than a low-end human. So don't get all high and mighty and self-righteous about things, because you are no better, just different. I will give credit where it is due and say, this is really important, what I'm about to read here. I will give credit where it is due and say that you carry the Holy Grail. They're acknowledging us for what we are. And no, it is not a silly cup. You humans are so easily manipulated, but the greatest irony of all is that clues have been placed in all the manipulations used. All the clues are in everything, in every control, every manipulation, there's a way out. Spiritually speaking, the human body is a universal vessel in which many different soul groups can experience the humanness, which is a gift to the third density and beyond from the Creator for the purpose of allowing darkened souls to begin making their way back home. It's Creator reaching out to his or her lost but not forgotten children who have chosen the path of duality and separation and ended up being overwhelmed by it. The Creator didn't realize, an aspect of the Creator didn't realize that this playground she had created contained energies that were incredibly powerful. And one of the most powerful of all, this is a cracker, all right, here's one for the psychologists too, is a combination of free will and detachment from one's source. So the combination of free will mixed in with detachment from source, from within. That is an incredible combination. This is the magic formula, the dark side of the dark side. But this formula, like all formulas, have variables, and the key variable in this equation is fear. Think of fear like fire, the trinity, so to speak. Fire needs fuel, oxygen, and flame. The dark side uses detachment, free will, and fear. You may wish to consider that if you alter any of those three elements, then the equation begins to break down. So if you reopen your awareness and reattach yourself to your source within, then the shackles begin to release. You can also approach it through tackling fear, or again, by limiting some free will to create balance in your everyday choices. By not being polarized, but merging the dark and the light, we then have the opportunity to become something different. So then, after all the incarnations you have experienced, sometimes playing a role for the forces of darkness and sometimes playing a role for the forces of light, then you get to a stage along your journey when a momentous leap in your awareness consciousness takes place, and you realize that the forces of darkness and the forces of light are really no better than each other. It's just the same way of being with a different colored dress on or a different colored suit on. So then the riddle continues. And what next? I, Draco Zon, a high-end Draco, and my peers, and the majority of life in the known universe, together with the unconditional love power of creation from the divine source, propose to you another way of being. I know that may have sounded like a little too much, but there is a lot behind what I just shared with you through the help of George. It is those of us who have been down this journey who understand and are helping with no commitments, ties, agreements, contracts, and so on. These understandings of life and love are coming to you because you've asked for them, and I assure you its origins and intent is unconditional love. We are just friends sharing our life experiences with one another in gaining a greater understanding and awareness, which brings about tolerance and compassion, two key elements of unconditional love. So you can see that they really want to make peace with us on the surface. It's a beautiful thing. I've got this much. I've got that, and from there down to go. So I'm nearly finished.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, there are some questions here. I mean, people are going to say, well, hang on. This Draco Zon says that there is no difference between the forces of light, the forces of darkness. When you look ultimately the big picture, it's just like it's the yin yang. What we're seeing is a yin yang thing going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And that he also pointed out that humans, we have this redeeming quality of the Holy Grail within us. So what exactly does he mean by that? And is it true that there is no difference between, I mean, the big picture is that, yeah, yin yang, it's all the same. But, I mean, can we really generalize for that at all levels?
Oh, totally. Like God and Satan are the same being. They're just two faces of the same coin. That's the reality. I'm not saying anything crazy or stupid. I'm not trying to insult anyone. Do you want reality? Do you want the truth? Do you want what's real? Or do you want to continue to live in comfortable lies so you don't have to actually look in the mirror and realize that you've invested so much of yourself into a false narrative? This is the reality. And don't worry, your gods, if you can't leave that narrative, your gods are going to come and save you. They're coming to harvest their herd. I'm staying with this planet. I'm not going with your gods. Yeah. So it's up to you, really. Yeah. The reality is the reality. God and Satan are the same being, two sides of the same coin, two faces. Like, was it Jupiter? I already have 4. Anyway.
Okay. Well, when you say that God and Satan are the same thing, I mean, they're
one and the same.
Okay. Or they're one and the same. Okay. So you've talked about this universal source energy, which we are all kind of like fractals of. Now, the gods are kind of like imposters.
There's good gods. Again, good gods, bad gods. Yeah.
So
there's good gods,
you've got
bad
good
gods.
gods, bad gods. And so in that sense, what you're saying, when you're saying God and Satan are the same thing, or the two faces of the same coin, you're not talking about universal source energy. You're talking about these gods who appear and kind of like vie for our attention or our worship.
Okay, let me put it this way. I run a course called Transcending the God Matrix. In that course, we literally close our soul level agreement with God in the way of creation and co-creation, right? Soul level agreement of co-creation from the heart of the universe. We know exactly who and what that being is. That being knows we know, and we work with that being. I'm in conscious relationship with God. I love God. Yeah, but God is not the creative intelligence of this universe. I explained to you what God was earlier. God is an ancient Draco warlord, and it's exemplified. Like, the proof is in the Bible. Look at the behavioral traits of Yahweh. Oh, who? Yeah, because that's what we're named after. We're in a branding name. Human is the branding name of Yahweh. You know, it's his branding name for us. No, we're Homo Luminous. So I'm getting the sword. I'm getting the sword out, right? Because I live by the sword. I'm a solar being. I teach the sun sword, and I'm just going to tell it how it is. Whether people like it or not, that's their problem. I'm just telling you reality, whether you want to agree with me or not. And why is it such a problem for someone to actually have a connection to reality and to know the bigger picture? This is one thing I find it really interesting that I come across a lot, is when I have conversations, and you're not doing this to me, Michael, at all. This is me talking to out there, right? Not to you, because you're not like this. You get me. Why is it that when someone has a great body of knowledge, and you and everybody else listening to this that does have serious knowledge, real knowledge, creational knowledge, right? That when you talk to people, it's like they cannot handle the fact that someone knows. And you hear people saying that anyone claiming to know tells me that they don't know because nobody knows. I'm like, what sort of a statement is that? That statement is, if I don't know, nobody else is allowed to know. That's what that statement is. That's the subliminal message there. So I want to say to all people, there are a lot of us that know. I'm the one who's been vocal about it. But I'll tell you now, I've traveled the world, and I've taught a lot of people online, and I can tell you now, there's a lot of people that genuinely know creational reality and the knowledge of life. They're just not out in the public stage talking about it. And this is what's freaking out the Templars, what's freaking out all the deep secret societies, the cults, the Freemasons. They're freaking out at me because I don't sit on the internet looking for this knowledge. I don't go to libraries. I don't read books. I don't do any of that stuff, yet I have all this knowledge. Okay? Why? Because I have a conscious relationship with creation itself. And that is the answer for all of you. You're not going to get what is real outside of you. You're only going to get what's real inside of you. You've got to turn inward into your relationship with creation, unified field, and that's how you get knowledge. Real knowledge. Not imperial knowledge, real knowledge.
Yeah, please go ahead and finish that letter, George.
And having said that, I don't know everything. I'm a work in progress, but these things I know. Okay? There's a lot I don't know. I'm just scratching the surface with life. So I needed to make that disclaimer because I'm over all the BS with someone knowing about something and then people say all sorts of stuff. Anyway, all right. By not being polarized but merging the dark and the light, we then have the opportunity to become something different. So then, after all the incarnations you have experienced, sometimes playing the role of the forces of darkness, sometimes playing the forces of light, you then get to a stage along your journey when a momentous leap in your awareness, consciousness takes place, and you realize that the forces of darkness and the forces of light are really no better than each other. It's just the same way of being with a different colored dress on. So then the riddle continues, and what is next? I, Draco's on, not me, but the guy communicating. I am Draco and my peers and the majority of life in the known universe together with the unconditional love power of creation from the divine source propose to you another way of being. I know that it might sound a bit much, But there is a lot behind what I'm sharing with you through the help of George. It is those of us who have been down this journey who understand and are helping with no commitments, ties. And I think I've read this out before. I do apologize. Just let me get to the bit unconditional love. Okay. These understandings of life and love are coming to you because you've asked for them. And I assure you its origins and intent is unconditional love. We are just friends sharing our life experiences with one another in gaining our greater understanding and awareness, which brings about tolerance and compassion, two key elements of unconditional love. George has had resentment towards us and the reptilians, and I did, not so much anymore because I've been healing that relationship. But, you know, I went through a lot with these guys. Don't think for a moment I'm kind of in this Stockholm syndrome with them. Absolutely not. In fact, I've been involved in taking out really dark reptilian and Draco clans and Grey clans on our planet. I've been involved in that process in the background for some time, and understandably so after what he has been through. The awareness and love frequency that George is now oscillating at has opened him up to the rest of life. This awareness has helped him reach a level of inner standing so that he no longer transmits fear, anger, resentment. Oh, I still get pissed off a bit, but I don't get angry. Like can't remember the last time I was angry. Anger, resentment, and frustrations, etc. Yeah, still have some frustrations. I just expressed that a little while ago with giving my disclaimer message. But again, it's about marinating it every day, you know, and I do not. I am in a very Zen state, virtually nearly all day, every day. This awareness has helped him reach a level of inner standing so that he no longer transmits fear, anger, resentment, and frustrations, etc. towards his situation. Why feed a situation with negative energy? That's just buying into the game of duality. It will only manifest into whatever energy you feed it. Always remembering you carry, you wait for it, the Pa'atal. That's what they call it. The Pa'atal, which we know as the Holy Grail. Yeah, the ability to manifest one's own reality simply with intent. So he's reminding us of how powerful we are, beyond their capability. He's acknowledging we are more powerful and capable than his people are. What kind of a Draco does that? A very wise Draco. One that knows the truth about life. One that doesn't have intentions of misleading or manipulating, right?
Is this the kind of true source of all these legends of the dragon riders or the dragon masters, where these are people who have been able to connect with or absorb the Holy Grail within them, that kind of universal connection to source, and the dragon energies are like, hey, we feed on humans, but you guys that have achieved this Holy Grail awareness, we are kind of like in awe of you and we will serve you. Is that the way it truly is? That's not a deception?
That's not a deception. And when you talk about the dragon energy too, you need to understand when we're talking about energy on a creational level. So it's the aspect, the wise dragon, the great dragon, in all of great spiritual and wise law, it has to do with the creation, with the creational intelligence. So it's the aspect of the universal being that is the creational intelligence behind the multiverse. It's manifested it's the physical domains, right? The Dracos are the masters of physicality. They overtook the insectoids way back. They surpassed them in that. And just like now, we are surpassing the Dracos. We're surpassing everybody. Yeah, everybody. We are surpassing every species. We've just forgotten what we are. I'm just helping to remind you, and so is Draco's on, helping to remind you of what you are, what we are as a species and a race. So, you've got your good and bad. So this is one of the good guys, one of the good Dracos, really reminding us. Yeah, they're different. You could feel the energy, the vibration, but this is it. All those who are following, I'll say his name. It's an old friend of mine. The reason why Victor and George, because when this was going on in my life, I had a really good brother in life called Victor in Adelaide. and he was involved in this a lot. He was the one. He's the kind of guy that tinkered in his shed in the back, and I've still got the implant in my arm here. And he had a device that he put over it, and there was 5 of us guys in a dark backyard shed. Turn the lights off, and then woof, there was this massive flash of ethereal light that came out of my arm from the implant. Freaked them all out. But anyway, it was just to prove to them that there was something in my arm, and I wasn't making it up. And you can feel it today. It's still there. Okay. All those who are following religions, New Age movement, occults, secret societies, and sadly even some teachings of indigenous cultures still sit neatly within the boundaries of the artificial life matrix that your ruling parties have created for you. Yeah, and what I'm trying to say is that, you know, this is the extent of the control matrix is much greater than people realize. Much greater. But that means we are greater to come out of it. Okay? So, of the artificial life matrix that your ruling parties have created for you. If you are an individual who is having fear-based experiences and so-called paranormal anomalies, then be assured that you are beginning to emerge outside the boundaries of the matrix. So isn't it interesting that religion says it's a bad thing, and then you have to bring their, you know, problem, reaction, solution. So you have to bring their deity in to plead to be saved. Now you give yourself over to that deity. From that moment on, you're indebted. It's the creation of debts, where debt comes from as well. And they'll look after you, but as long as you feed them your life force, worship them, be a devotee. Fear in its many forms is then used against you to stop you and redirect your intent back into the matrix so you can continue to feed and satisfy their needs and remain in bondage. And they have a little addendum here to do with crop circles. I find this really interesting. He just dropped this little bomb on crop circles back in the day because they were pretty big back then. This is what they are: synchronistic energy patterns to stimulate the human conscious awareness into merging technology with nature. It's the next and vital step in reaching a level of understanding technology, or we will self-destruct. In other words, if we don't have that conscious relationship with creation, with nature, we're going to self-destruct because we're advancing technologically, but we're not advancing spiritually. Wisely. The technological advances are outpacing our ability to deal with them. Okay. Those of you with the appropriate awareness will view the symbol and then merge it with it, allowing the teachings and understandings to flow. Each design is a portal into a consciousness, energy, and understanding. That person will then be able to achieve the type of technology with the appropriate use of nature to achieve the harmonious frequencies expressed in the designs. There you go. That is a message from Draco Zon from 20 years ago, thereabouts. And right now was the time to finally bring it out, because now's the time when we are having lots of meetings and deliberations with the extraterrestrials and the crypto-terrestrials.
Well, so you haven't revealed that letter in full in 20 years?
Once I read it out to a very small private group, about half a dozen people. That's it. I did that a few years ago.
And just to be clear, Draco Zon is an inner earth Draco that has been here for a long, long time. And he's different to this Imperial Draco that you confronted on the moon. They're different beings. Okay.
Totally different groups.
Okay. So this Draco...
It's like one's Nazis and the other one is Joe Blow down the road.
Okay. So Draco Zon, he is part of this kind of like inner earth or crypto-terrestrial reptilian group that's been here for millions of years. They are in harmony with the consciousness of the planet, and they are, in a way, our spiritual cousins, if you like, because even though genetically we're different, we spiritually are cousins because, you know, we are both children of Mother Earth and Father Sky. But then again, I mean, they might not have that Father Sky connection, right? We connect with with the sun, but now, do they?
In a different way. Yes, they do. Like, I didn't ask him about how he experiences his relationship with the sun. However, he's in a different construct. He's in a Draco-Reptilian construct in another dimension. So he does have a relationship with the sun, obviously, because he has a relationship with his planet. And you can't have a relationship with his planet without having a relationship with the sun, because it's nested, right? Mm-hmm. And the planet exists because of the sun. So if you go into the life force of the planet, you end up at the sun, etc. Same with yourself.
I think his message is very, very profound. And I just want to kind of like emphasize this thing, because I know some people might be tempted to kind of get the whole God, Satan thing, misconstrue that, because really there's nothing greatly different to what Platonists said about the demiurge, that the demiurge, or was considered by the ancient Greeks as the creator of the earth, was not the ultimate source. That demiurge that we might call God is kind of like an imposter, or like,
well, he didn't create. No, God did not create this planet. God did not create this planet. To understand what has happened is you have a Draco warlord that has come to our planet and then postulated itself to be the creator of all that is and all that exists. That's what this entity does, to assimilate beings into its imperial structure. We're talking about a vast, multi-dimensional imperial structure, yeah? And when you worship the technologies that have been fused into our physiology, chakras, kundalini, pineal gland, they are imperial technologies. When you worship those, you are connecting into that grid. You're connecting into the grid, the hologram of the gods. That's what you're connecting into. To come back to creation, you need to let go of all these things. Go back into the core of your being, back into the unified field. That's it. You've got it all within you. So all these other practices, venerating all these spiritual practices, is the veneration and the worship of the technologies that they have infused into our physiology over millennia. All right, this is the problem we have. And when you look at the behavioral traits in the Bible of Yahweh, it's very clear that he is a warlord, without doubt. It's all in there. Deuteronomy, just look it all up. Now, when you listen to what Christ said, and I'm not talking Jesus, I'm talking Christ. Again, I explained earlier, we're not talking about the version of life that was handed to us by the Pharisees. I'm not wanting to follow that. What I want is direct relationship with creation itself to tell me what is real and what is not real. Yeah? That entity that you call God is the one that is postulating itself to be the creator of all that is and all that exists. And if it is so, and I have this conversation with Christians and priests and preachers and chaplains, and I talk about this stuff a lot to people, by the way. Yeah. And there are ones who really get where I'm coming from. They see it. And then there are ones that just dig their heels in, defend their position, because they can't come to terms with the fact that they've been hoodwinked like that. It hurts too much. Okay. And it hurt me. Remember my background, but life showed me something very different, right? So Christ said that God that these people are worshiping, Yahweh, that is not my father. He says that. He made it very clear in the Bible that the God of the Old Testament is not what he called his father. Okay, so don't forget that. So again, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. What has befallen all Christians is they are worshipping a God, a deity that the Pharisees have handed to them, meaning the priestly caste, and a version of the Christ that's been handed to them. This is the problem we have in the whole world of Christendom. Yeah? And if you come back to the natural Christ within, then the first place you end up is, wow, I'm actually incarnated on Christ Sophia, which is the Christ in the feminine, who's totally buried and forgotten. And all we've ever been brainwashed with is the inversion of truth, the inversion of reality. So, yeah, I'm not espousing some type of new age religion here. This is not what I'm doing. And anybody who connects into creation, not through me, independently of me, just connecting to creation, everyone's coming up with the same thing because it's reality. It's not a narrative. It's the structure of life.
Well, there's a lot of kind of takeaways from that letter from Dracos and I hope that listeners kind of absorb that message in its entirety. There's a lot there to take in. I think it's very important that as we approach disclosure, start to learn about and interact with our star families, that we also at the same time honor and respect the crypto-terrestrials, because they are our, either they're our genetic or our spiritual ancestors that have been here millions of years, live in the inner earth. They know a lot, and so we need to reach out to them as well as connect with the star families. I think that's ultimately how we can best grow and become embodiments of this kind of fractal source energy.
Absolutely, and really genetically they are ancestors as well. So you need to understand this transmission, this correspondence came from one of your ancestors. And don't forget, they've been with this planet for hundreds and hundreds of millions of years. We're the new kids on the block, and we really need to get over ourselves. Okay? And so with just before you go on there, Michael, just got one statement to make in closing with this whole Dracos On thing. You can ask me questions, but my side of it, in presenting. So, and I know a lot of people are going to want to now character assassinate me because I shared that knowledge. Yeah, because they're going to want to defend their belief systems and all this stuff. So here's a little statement I've got to you for all those folks. What is the point of all this? Like in the sense of to destroy a man who seeks the truth, or to destroy the truth so no man can seek it. Either way, you lose. And I just really needed to follow up with that. Because there's a whole bunch of us coming out now. You watch, you wait and see. There's going to be a whole lot of people start to emerge. People that weren't speakers before, now are going to come out onto the speaker stage, and they're going to start sharing. And they're going to share from a very, very interesting place. Very deep, very creational. I'd like to finish, Michael, with a poem. And this poem I wrote some time ago, and it's a message, actually, this one is a message from my greater being to all of humanity. Yeah? And from creation itself, speaking, me being a voice for creation. This is a message to all of you, to everyone who's listening and beyond. Although we dance in the dark, our song is bright, lighting the path as it mysteriously unfolds and reveals our newfound experiences. Sometimes exhilarating, sometimes frustrating, and even heartbreaking, as each moment feeds another portion of wisdom into our souls. You came into my life and we exchanged virtues, only to find our egos wanting to be kings and queens. Little did we truly know and understand this through all those years of trials and tribulations. But the tide is now turning. As our egos melt in sojourn with the poles, a newfound awareness resonates within, opening up new possibilities of harmonious interludes with kindred souls. A family beckons in a time and place whose structure has never existed before anywhere in all of creation. A family of true love that never squabbles, that will never judge, persecute, or condemn. This I know, for I know my heart, and my heart tells me that this family is in the process of becoming. For our divine Earth Mother, our Mother Sophia, is evolving and birthing. You see, my song is strong and my light shines bright, enabling me to see a little further down the path. And I see my family there, all my brothers and sisters in the light, the natural light, with open arms and warm hearts. But only now do I begin to recognize my family. And behold, who do I see? I see you. Thank you for letting me read that out, Michael.
That is a wonderful way of ending this interview, George. Really, you covered a lot of information. I think you really did give people a lot to digest. And I do encourage listeners to really take on board the vast scope of the information that was presented, both in terms of the events that are happening around our planet with the drones, the star families returning, the ships appearing, but also that maybe even more powerful philosophical message about who we are, how there are beings in our world that mirror back to us our behavior, and that's really designed for us to kind of like reach deep within to pull out this kind of gift that we carry unconsciously that's going to enable us to really be equals to the galactics out there.
Yeah, equals. No, we're going to go beyond because of what we are.
Great. Well, George, any parting words as we finish up?
Yeah, it's been an epic jam. I know it's quite long, and there's been a lot of information. I recommend people look back over it and listen again and consider. And nobody has to go where I'm going. My love for you all is unconditional. I want to thank you, Michael and Jazz, for a beautiful jam again. We always jam well. And I just love co-creating these moments with you. Thank you so much, Michael. We wouldn't be where we are without you doing the great work that you're doing. So really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, George. You truly are a master of wisdom and enlightenment, and you will get people thinking and probing deep within them. So great. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.